Well, good morning, everybody, or afternoon. I mean, it's noon Eastern, 10 Mountain, 9 Pacific, and happy to have you here today. Accountant Best Practices in QuickBooks Online. Thanks for giving me an hour of your time. We'll probably go right to about 11:02 or something Mountain, but I'll try to make sure we get done on time so that you can move on to other things. But thank you for attending today. A couple administrative things before I introduce myself. We'll go through a few alignment slides and we'll dive into product. We'll mostly be in product, of course, and going over just some fundamental accountant best practices when you're using or working, managing with your QBO clients. There's a handout section in GoToWebinar. I put the same PowerPoint deck I'm going to use in there. You can feel free to download it, but there's not tons of slides. The last two slides are all resources or links to other webinars that we do. And these webinars don't offer any CPE, right? So it's just a free resource. But like, for example, tomorrow we're doing one with QBO tools for tax accountants, which is very similar to this one, just some more integration with our online tax software we have, ProConnect Tax Online. And then Thursday I'll be doing the Beyond the Basics, going through some of the key advanced settings in QBO Plus for product and service-based businesses and nonprofits as well. So, but today it's just really fundamental stuff on QBOA and a little bit on QBO navigation, things like that. So a handout section for the deck. If you have any questions, please use the questions box. Right? It's right there, and then I'll see it. And if I see something thematic, I typically like to answer questions as we go along, as opposed to waiting to the end. Okay, hopefully you're seeing my screen. I am recording the session, so any of your colleagues in the firm that would like to watch this after the fact, or you want to go back and revisit something, your account manager, whoever invited you here today, will have the YouTube link. So, this is me. I'm a pro advisor. I no longer take the desktop certification, though I still support the platform just like Intuit does. I install it every year. I get 18 QuickBooks Accountant Edition and Enterprise Accountant. Those are the typical ones I always keep installed every year. Now focusing mostly on QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Online Accountant. I've been with Intuit since 2004. I basically grew up on the desktop since 03, and I've been using QBO since 09. You know, so I might make some things relatable to desktop. And also for going on, I think 7 years now with Stacy Kildall and also Don Brolin there for most of that, we did Radio Free QuickBooks, and now it's called the QBO Show. And you can find out more about that at radiofreeqb.com. And I think this week we're going to be going over some new stuff in QBO that's been enhanced or rolled in. Also, in this deck, you can click the link to download the spreadsheet matrix, which compares feature and functionality, about 140 different feature sets across, the QuickBooks ecosystem. Is it in Pro? Is it in QBO Simple Start, Essentials Plus, Essentials Premier, etc. So here's what we're going to be talking about today: the platform alignment. I'm going to start in QuickBooks Online Accountant, like you would as well. Go over what you can do to team members. And then wholesale billing clients. We'll look at the Pro Advisor tab a little bit, some best practices around that and getting your profile online. And then the work tool, I'll also briefly go into apps, but I think we'll probably skip the third-party apps in the essence of time. But the work, definitely. I mean, there's a way to create engagements and assign them tasks or projects to staff and clients and track them. And that's all free within QBOA. I mean, QBOA is free for the firm. I know you already know that. The only time you're ever really paying for anything is if you are putting the client's QuickBooks Online subscription on the firm credit card, aka wholesale billing. And some of you have already done the 5 for 25, so you're already doing that, right? So, and that's the cheapest way to get QBO. But outside of that, for staff, for Pro Advisor, for certification, for the platform itself of QuickBooks Online Accountant, so you can access and kind of have a shared list or consolidated list of clients for everybody in the firm to, access from. That's all free. Then we're going to go into some key accountant tools, the Toolbox, reporting, navigation. I kind of do it all together. I just listed the topics so you'd know what we were about. And if you're looking for something else, then this isn't for you today. And then I like to end with bank feeds and best practices there. And any questions, please use the questions box. So about 80% of small businesses will move online by 2020, meaning they'll use some kind of accounting software. I mean, the 50% of the businesses that actually use accounting software, there's a huge runway on businesses that don't, of course, but they'll all be moving to some online accounting software. With QBO, you have the self-employed, which you can also add within QBOA too, and that's really for your Schedule C only clients. But if it's really a business that needs transactions and reporting, et cetera, then that's QuickBooks Online. We have Simple Start, Essentials, and Plus. Most of your clients are going to be on Essentials and Plus. However, recently we just added the General Ledger report and Trial Balance to Simple Start. So some of you might have a couple Simple Start clients, right? They'll be rare, but you'll have a couple of them. And, the pain for the accountant is the lack of the accountant reporting. So we added those two reports recently in your Simple Start. So you don't have to move a client to Essentials just to get the trial balance, et cetera. So I just want to make sure you knew that. And then quarter one, I just wanted to share some results from Intuit. We're up way above 2.5 million subscriptions worldwide. Of course, 2 million of that being the U.S. And the only reason why I show this, where a lot of things and where we're investing and going into online, is though we have 3 million desktop users, and we continue to support both platforms like you are, like I am. As I mentioned, I'm not desktop certified, but I have a long-time desktop user. We're getting to the point where it's like, of our whole client base in the U.S., almost like it's 50-50. And I remember just even a year ago when we were at like 1 million subs, or 1.5 million or something. So obviously that's growing, and the only reason why I mention that is because you're going to want to have a couple people in the firm ready. Get them certified. Even if you're not a fan of QBO fully and you prefer desktop, there's some people in the firm probably can take the QBO on. It's going to lead the revenue stream too. You got the trial balance report. Either way, it's going to tax or whatever other reason, other reports you have. So though totally different from desktop, I think it behooves a firm, even if you're not totally buying into the firm or the future thing, where we have a lot of firms that are just going that way, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But most firms are supporting both platforms, and they have more clients on desktop, and that's totally fine, but get ready for the QBO. And why it's good, a lot of these are obvious to me, but improved collaboration, not just with your client, because there's no backup portable, transferring data, accountants copy, things like that, being able to log into the single ledger in the cloud, as I like to call it, but improved collaboration within the firm. And we're going to start there in QBOA next. I think this is the last slide, and then we'll dive into product. As long as you have high-speed internet access, because there's no offline mode yet, like Outlook has, that would be really sweet one day, hopefully, but, you can access it. And though not all feature sets are on the phone, unless you're logging in natively to a browser to QBO on your phone or tablet, for your clients that are on the go and using the phone and creating expenses and things like that, or sales transactions, it goes into the data. You don't have to send it anywhere. You're just in the file from any real source. It's just that when you're in through the browser, you get all full functionality. Okay. Yep. All right. So we're going to dive in here to QBOA, and I probably won't come back to the deck again, but because I have this memorized by now. But anyway, upcoming webinars, that's what I mentioned. So if you download the deck, this is what I'm doing Thursday, and I think I have 3 or 4 of these over the next couple of months. So advanced features of QBO Plus, bank feed reconciliation in QBO, 10 recent updates to QBO, right? Understanding your benefits, Cloud Pro Advisor QBOA, and then we even have conversion training. So this is all free training, but non-CPE. And then I have links for tutorials, not just for yourself, but for your clients. And this is all free, right? And here's more of the firm of the future, where one thing I'll say, well, I'll get to that when we get to the wholesale billing piece, right? But anyway, some key links in this deck, so feel free to download the deck. All right, so I'm in my QuickBooks Online Accountant, have a list of clients here, and we're going to start with the team, right? So I have clients, team, Pro Advisor, work, apps. Your clients will not be in here. I mean, the subscriptions will, right? And you can hover over the little QB meatball, and it shows what level of QBO they have, when's the last person who signed in, et cetera. And we're going to surface up some data, mostly around bank feeds and payroll, or changes to things that were reconciled, or cleared transactions or checks without payee. That's basically what we surface up at this time. It's kind of like a prioritization window. But what I like about it is the firm only needs one QBOA. So if you're here today and you set up the QBOA, great, you're the master admin, but the other 2 or 3 or 4 people you work with, they don't necessarily need to have their own QBOA. You're just going to invite them. So over here you have team, and I think this is a really important aspect of QBOA for the firm. So Valerie, Ray, Leah, Ryan, they're all team members of mine and staff that are part of the QBOA. I'm the master admin. I started it, but Valerie has just as much functionality as I do. She just can't delete me, right, within QBOA, and then I gave her access to all clients. Whereas Ray, who is not as a veteran, let's say, in the accounting industry as Val, and we're still she's still in some training, et cetera, or maybe it's just someone you bring in for tax, like for 4 months of the year, you can restrict what they do administratively and what clients they see. So I'm inviting them uniquely to their own email. They're not coming in as mine, and I certainly no longer want them just to go in as a client to the client file, because you're going to see the accountant tools they'll miss out on. So it's important just to invite Ray, Valerie, whoever in your firm to their own email, because they have their own unique Pro Advisor membership and ability to get certified just like you do, right? And are all working off the same client list. However, under client access, we'll go there first. For Ray, I just choose what clients I want her to see when she logs in. So instead of 40 clients, she sees like I think 11 or 12 now, as she's ramping up. Whereas Valerie, I check off all of them. Right? And Valerie even has the ability to add new clients, even see our free QBO file we give the firm. But Ray doesn't have access to do anything administratively. She can't add other staff members. She can't see the firm credit card for wholesale billing. She can't add new client subscriptions from QBOA. When Ray logs in, if I go back to this home page here with the clients, right? I have Team Pro Advisor, Work, Apps. We'll get to this, the Your Books file. I have Add a Client. So I have full functionality. So would Valerie. So does Leah, et cetera. Now Ray's going to come in through Firefox, and you'll see a difference of what she sees. Right? So she has Pro Advisor, and she has the Work tab, because she might want to create projects, or I might want to create some projects or tasks and assign them to her, so she can go in and work, and we're all working off the same list. But notice, instead of, what do I got, 68 clients, she has access to 11. And she can't see the firm file, can't see the team page, and there's no add client. The only reason I point that out is that you can restrict your staff on what they do. And maybe you have an intimate format, and it's great, and everybody's a full user. That's awesome. But you're going to have some staff in there that you don't want to be able to go to your account and see the firm credit card or update it or whatever. So you can do that. Just wanted to make sure. And I'm going to go into this client actually as Ray for later on. I want to show some firm visibility on reporting. And it's real easy. I usually just click this QB icon to get into a file. We'll get in there in a sec. Go into Planet Pause or whatever. But anyway, so team, that's one thing. The other piece is the Pro Advisor. And all of your team members and staff will have this ability. 2, get certified in QBO or even advanced certified. Right? This is where I go back to my point is even if if you yourself are not embracing QBO because you prefer desktop, and desktop's great. I'm a big fan of it, right? Vintage for me, my favorite version was 2005. I know it's silly, but some of us still hold on to those things, and I'm included in that camp. But anyway, you're going to have some staff that you want to get on board and get them certified, get them used to the platform. They can set up their own profile. If they just click the little person icon in the upper right, and they can see their profile views, leads, inquiries, the social link views. My profile strength is lame. I mean, yours will be, way more out full, and you'll go ahead and publish it. You get about 40,000 hits a month on the findaproadvisor.com. And in your area, you would see you and whoever else is certified in QBO, as well as desktop, listed there in the zip code. And it's great to have a bunch of people from the same firm. Right? Seems like you're all unified and on the same path here. So make sure you fill out all this stuff too. Right? So each of you get a Pro Advisor membership, free for QBO. Desktop, of course, is still a paid membership, depending on whether you need enterprise or not. $349 or $549 a year. Now I'm going to go into this other QBOA because this has my Pro Advisor, just to show you. Because you can connect. Like I said, I don't take the certification anymore, but I am. I have desktop. I'm a desktop Pro Advisor just by paying for it. Just the $549 because I do the enterprise too. So in this list here, or menu items, when I go to Pro Advisor in this particular QBOA, I have software and discounts. So I can download my desktop software from here. There's no external Pro Advisor site I have to go to. So some of you are longtime desktop Pro Advisors. You can connect, your Pro Advisor desktop with the online advisor as well, just with your customer account number and your license number. You know, since 2012, your QuickBooks Accountant Edition license number is your Pro Advisor membership number, right? So you can connect the two, and you can download your software and manage not only the desktop side of the advisor membership, but the QBO as well. And the nice thing is, just for the people that I'm not going to spend the money to get desktop certified because I just buy a bulk license, and great. So I'm not actually going to pay for Ray. I'm just going to give her a seat on my license, right, for some of the pro clients she works with. But she can take advantage of the free QBO advisor and get certified. So there's that. Now, work. This is the kind of project tracking and file share functionality we have within QBOA. It's not something your client will see, although I will go over a client request and file sharing, right, and where they access it from within the QBO file that when they log in. But you'll notice I can track gigs that I have, you know, reporting, reconciliation, excuse me, bank feeds, whatever you're doing. I can even make them recurring if I want to. I'll show you how to create a project. And then I can track, you know, between to-do, you know, basically status, to-do, in progress, blocked, done, canceled, and who has it. I can give it to other people that have access to that client file. So when Ray logs in and she goes to the work tab, she would see, you know, what she has this week and what's next week in the next 30 days, right? So, and it's easy to kind of, we already onboarded these people. They just haven't gone in and changed it to done, and it falls off the list, but I can see all my canceled, completed work if I want to. So you have the card view, and then you have the list view. I'm going to change it over to that because this I can look at, you know, what have I done in the last 30 days, and I just want to look at stuff that's done, you know, done or canceled, you know, and that's what shows up. And again, I like the list view because you can see more on the page versus the card view. You know, the client, the name of the project or task, status, due date, end date, who it was assigned to, and the type. You only have project, task, or file share, right? Request, which I'll go into next. Or I can look at the next 30 days, you know, or what's due today or something like that, and I can look at just, you know, maybe I want to see what's in progress or to do. Across all types, or just that Ray has, or Dave, or Kim, or a particular client. So that's what it is. I mean, it's a very fundamental kind of engagement tracking. It's not time entry yet or anything like that. It's really projects. And you just kind of click Create Project, put in the project name, the client, the due date, whether it's repetitive or not. You can do monthly, biweekly, quarterly, yearly, weekly. I already said that, sorry. When does it end, who it's assigned to. And you can even duplicate it for another client. And I can add subtasks within the project. So if you have a big project with subtasks, I can assign those subtasks to a specific person other than myself, etc. And though the team members of QBOA are not alerted, they would still see it when they go into QBOA. You know, like Ray, back to Firefox. She clicks on work. Excuse me one second. A little cough. Are you hearing me now, Mario? I muted for a second while I coughed, but you should be hearing me okay. Let me know. So Ray has work as well, right? So she can come in and see the work that she has just for herself when she clicks me, right? I need to give her more work. So all your team will see that in the Pro Advisor, and that's the end of that story. The other thing I wanted to mention is the file share. So I can click Create Request, and this come in handy now because we're in tax season, right? So, you know, you can do this for most documents are supported to upload. We used to have this feature. We took it out. We put it back in. So we used to do it with Box.com, which is our partner. Now we actually do it. You know, we built it into QBOA ourselves. And data's on our service. So please send, you know, updated, you know, W-4 for that new employer, whatever it is. Choose a client, the due date, and I'll give them till Friday. And then you can put in some notes for them. And if I choose Notify Client, which is defaulted, that's going to send them an email. In my case, I'm just going to publish it to client's QuickBooks. So I'm literally sending a request for my client to upload a document, right? And it just shows up on the list right here. Right? Now, the client, I'm also in QBO as a client, right? I don't have accountant up here. I don't have the toolbox, which we'll go over soon. We'll be diving into a client file. But I have, you know, the left-hand panel, and you'll notice this My Accountant. So when Clay gets an email, he'll log into QBO, and it'll bring him to this My Accountant page from the email, the request. and I'm going to change it to recently updated, and here's that W-4 that we need. And you can see that I'm a misspeller. So he can go in here and he can upload a document, right? Send that along, and even talk to me. We're going to scan the document. Again, it can be a picture, an Excel spreadsheet, PDF, a QuickBooks portable file, a bank statement, whatever. And, he'll just say, I hope this is the right form, etc. And now that the window's open, he can send stuff to me and add documents, etc. Right? And then back in QBOA, we'll refresh the window. I actually can see the update. Again, I'm not alerted like the client is, because they might not be in QBO. But on my card here, within the Work tab, I have, the message icon has a 1 and the attachment. So I can click on it, and then I can open up the document that they sent me. So you're communicating back and forth with your client. It's QBOA to QBO and back. You're creating the request to upload a document or whatever. Some people even use it for reminders, because I can keep it in progress and send an update, for hey, make sure you add the stuff from the For Review tab and bank fees and accept it into the register. So some people do that as a workaround for a reminder. It's kind of, they're using this for other things. So send feedback. We're going to build more into it. Hopefully it'll have some kind of time tracking ability and reporting, et cetera. But right now it's creating projects or tasks and file share with your client. And the client does, they access it from the My Accountant tab in the left-hand panel. If you already have an engagement tracking platform, then you just tell them to ignore this one, because you're not going to really send them a request. But it's super easy for the client to upload documents back to you using this. Okay? So that's that. Now let's go to apps real quick. Just wanted to mention, for those of you who are leveraging apps.com or connecting third-party apps to your client's QBO subscription for a functionality QBO just doesn't have. Like maybe you have a residential or commercial contractor or a heavy manufacturing and process type client, but they still want to be mobile and use QuickBooks Online Plus. Obviously, we don't have that functionality in QBO Plus, so you can go to apps.com, or any of you can click on the Apps tab. Well, not any of you. Ray can't, but Valerie, Leah, myself, the full users, full team members can go to the Apps tab and browse by category, and just look for like inventory apps. And as the master admin of QBOA, I can actually do the connection. I'll see this client apps tab. I can see apps connected to a particular client. I can click add app, and I can, choose like float and then add it. Get app now and choose which client I want to connect it to, if that's too daunting of a task for my client, right? And these are all free, like for a month or 14 days. So then you would invite your client to the app, and then they would put in the billing. So, you see more and more with the third-party app integration with QuickBooks Online, and how you can now connect it. Forever it's been that the client or a company admin or master admin of the file would go connect the app and invite you. Now you could do it. A lot of people go with HubDoc and QBO, because HubDoc is great for like pulling a lot of data from multiple vendor sources and creating transactions within QBO with a receipt attached. And the list goes on. There's 400 plus apps that have been vetted already on apps.com. We just threw it into QBOA so you could do some research or actually connect the app for your client on their behalf. Okay? But more on that another time. The Your Books file, the last thing I wanted to mention, this is a free file we give, the firm, right? It's a QBO Plus file. It's inside of QBOA. And like you saw with Ray, she doesn't have access to it. However, don't use it till you're really going to use it. It's not meant to be a sandbox or a practice ground for your client. We give you that under the gear icon. You go to Sample Company, right? So there's that. So the Your Books file is don't use it till you're really going to use it, right? Because in the sales window, customers, this is a mirror image of the Your Practice clients list. So you don't want to, hey, I'm just going to use this for lunch and learns, because the sample file resets itself every time I leave, right? Which is true. And then you like import Rockcastle Construction in here, you're just going to have tons of extra clients you don't need. And you can't really delete clients, right? You probably noticed that. You don't have a client anymore, but you can make them inactive, which pulls it off your list, right? So you and your staff won't see it, but it doesn't actually cancel the subscription. So that's my qualification about the Your Books file. If you're using it, awesome. A lot of firms of the future do use it because of the recurring sales receipts and QuickBooks payments, so you can set up auto billing draft from from your clients' accounts for the services you provide, and they're just using the whole thing. They're just totally QBOA and QBO, right? These are those firms of the future. You can find out more of those testimonials on firmofthefuture.com. But they're using the Your Books file for the firm file, and maybe some of you are too. Awesome, but don't use it as a practice ground, okay? Just leave it alone until you're ready to use it for real. And feel free to keep using Accountant Edition. It's a great app for your own firm books, but eventually you might move it here. Okay, enough of my soapbox on that one. Let's dive into a client file. Oh, lastly, wholesale billing. I wanted to mention, let me quickly get into a different QBOA that I have a friend that has wholesale billing, so I'd like to show that. It's right here. Let's go into Socrates Accounting. This is where you are paying for the client subs, right? So under the gear icon, you have the sample company, your account. And you can, again, Ray wouldn't be able to see this, but I can, right? So let's go back to that. And so Valerie has wholesale billing. I'm one of her staff, and I have the access to see this. We have a firm credit card we use. We pay into it $442.37 a month plus sales tax, and then we have an amount for payroll as well as a separate billing date of the month. And we track, our clients under wholesale billing here. You might have this if you've ever signed up for the 5 for 25, right? Or you did the multi-company discount, or, in QBOA, you might be using wholesale billing where it's a firm credit card. So it's just the cheapest way to get QBO. That's net. That's the story. I mean, it's $25 for plus, $17.50 for essentials. Simple Start's not included in that, but self-employed's like $5 a month, right? Again, most of your clients can be plus and essentials, but you can pay for it. And if you're concerned about, well, I don't want to be the master admin when I'm creating a new client file, and that's fine because it takes up a seat. So when you add a client, right, and you put it under wholesale, and you do the client name, et cetera, and you choose plus or whatever, you don't have to be the master admin of the file. Right? If you think that's going to protect your credit card or something, it doesn't. There's no need for that. Under the gear icon in Accountant Settings, you see this Billing and Subscription tab that eventually it'll pop up here. Sometimes, let me refresh the window. Here we go. I do notice with Chrome you got to clear your cache at least once a week. It really helps. But this Billing and Subscription tab, sure, I see it, and Clay sees it. He's the master admin of the file, whatever. But if this subscription was under wholesale billing, we remove the billing and sub tab from Accountant Settings. So they have no access, and they can't do anything with, administratively regarding moving up to plus, down to essentials, adding payroll. The firm does all that under wholesale billing, right? So client, even if they're the master admin, and they should be, they have, because you don't need to be, they have no visibility over the firm credit card or the billing subscription tab within Accountant Settings. We just remove it out. All they see is company sales, expense payments in advance in the left-hand panel of Accountant Settings, right? No way for them to access it. You control it under wholesale, under the gear icon of the particular, QBOA you're using, right? So, cool. I'm going to dive into a client file. We're actually going to go into pause. We got 65 unaccepted transactions, 2 changes to reconciled. So let's look at more accountant tools and navigation, and we'll do some bank feeds as well at the end. I don't see any questions yet. By all means, ask them in the questions box. But we've kind of nailed down QBOA. You want to have one per firm location. You want to invite your staff, get them certified, use the work or not, and you have the apps integration. Don't use the Your Books file if you're really going to use it. And when you get clients going from desktop to QBO, so they need a new subscription, then you want to obviously click Add Client. Whether you use wholesale billing or not, it's up to you. I have tons of friends that do a mixed bag. Most of the firms I talk to have a mixed bag. There are the Firm of the Future set. That's great. Find out more at firmofthefuture.com. They all do wholesale because it's the cheapest way to get it, and it works with their billing platform and approach for how they bill their clients monthly for services provided. They just roll the QBO sub in. Great idea. But most of the firms I talk to have a mixed bag. Clients pay or they pay, right? So either way, you're creating the subscription from QBOA. It's the best way to do it. You can control the process. Now, one other thing I forgot to mention, and then we'll move on to a client file, I promise. If I go back to Gear Icon Manage Users, what about those clients that are not part of your QBOA? So what you'll do is you'll have them or some company admin or the master admin go into the Gear Icon, Manage Users. Again, Gear Icon is like your operational stuff. This is where your preferences are, right? Billing and subscription, manage users, unless it's under wholesale, of course. Another way to get to chart of accounts are other list elements, reconcile, recurring transactions, right? So tools and operations, the audit log, they're under the gear icon. Quick tangent, plus sign, that's transactions. Quickest way to get to them, not the only way, but by column, pretty easy to access, right? And your clients will see the same thing too. You just have an accountant toolbox and well, we'll get to that in a sec. And then you have the left-hand panel. Pretty obvious. Banking would be bank feeds, sales and expense. I wonder what those are. And then you have, like, we changed the name of employees to workers, reporting, taxes, right? Sales tax, payroll tax. Accounting's going to be bank rec and chart of accounts, right? So 3 areas of access, because I might forget to get to this later. That's it. You're probably already used to it, and sorry if I'm boring you. But that's it. If it's not, if you don't see a feature turned on, maybe it's in accountant settings and you just haven't turned it on yet. Like you want to pass through time expense material to invoice, or you want to, you want terms, or take an upfront deposit on an invoice, or whatever, the class tracking. There's a lot of stuff in accountant settings that don't default just turn on. So it's like when you're in a desktop file and you're setting it up, one of the things you're doing is going to edit preferences, right? Do this too, right? But if you've turned everything on and it's not there, it's probably just not there. And we're pretty close to pro. I think we have price levels now in beta, progress invoicing in beta. Still missing a couple feature sets that pro has, I think, like estimate to actual reporting for contractors. It's just so easy in pro, QBO, so you need an app for that. But anyways, we're pretty close to pro. But we're going to match Premier one day. Anyway, gear icon, right? So back to my story. I have this existing client. They're new to the firm. They heard about how great we do taxes or reporting or whatever, word of mouth, and they want us to be their firm. So they have Essentials or Plus or even Simple Start. Go to the gear icon or have them, manage users, invite. Now, you can invite anybody that's a full team member of QBOA, and they can accept the invite and add it to QBOA. But I like a more consistent process. So I just give them the email address of the master admin. Not that you have to do that. I just like doing it because it's consistent, and I never have problems. And I'm the one who accepts the invites. When I accept the invite, it adds this kind of rogue QBO, meaning they're not part of a QBOA. They're a new client, but they already had QBO, so I'm not going to go create a new QBO for them. It adds them to my list. That's how I got Cloud Collabor in here. Right? So anyway, enough about that. Let's dive into pause. I'm going to click on the QB icon. Again, you can drill down on the name just to see some more detailed information without having to go into the client file. Like Leah's put in some notes, which is nice. Bookkeeping info, shared docs would be here. That's where you're going to access those. And then when I go to bookkeeping, anything in blue will take me into the file or the QB Plus. Or I can do the drop down too, right? We'll just dive into pause. But I like clicking the little the little meatball, QB meatball. So there's 3 ways to get into a client file. But don't go in as a client. We're missing out on the accountant tools. Okay. So looks pretty similar to me as the client, right? Left-hand panel. We'll hit a few of this stuff. Plus sign, gear icon, search field. But when I come in through QBOA, I still have plus sign, gear icon, search. When you left-click in here, this is great if a client emails you or text or phone call. Hey, I just did an expense, but I think I did it wrong. Can you help me? And that's part of the package you have or whatever. If you left-click in the search field, it shows the last 10 transactions messed with it all. Maybe mess is the right word for this, or created new or whatever, edited, modified, what have you. And then it has all your customized reports and then reports A to Z. You can even search for a report right in the search field. So it's pretty helpful. But I like starting in the briefcase. This is the accountant toolbox, right? You got QB account in the upper left, which will take you back to QBOA. You have the hamburger icon, just like your clients have, which gives you 3 inches on the left back if you're doing like a landscape report. Yippee, pretty fun. And then you have this accountant toolbox. Several tools we're going to look at. First thing I like to show, because I like to do navigation tips and tricks with reporting because it just makes sense. Right? And then we'll go to batch classify transactions, some key settings you might want to consider, and then we'll look at bank feeds. Right? Pretty much right on time. Because bank feeds, I could probably do that first. It's probably the most important thing, I think, once you're set up to get the data in, and there's bank rules we'll talk about, and what are the best practices. and things to avoid. That's what we'll address in the last 10 minutes or so, 12 minutes today. But I like putting it at the end to isolate it. Anyway, report tools for your main financial summary reports, profit and loss, balance sheet, the classified transaction tool, not the trial balance. As you know, most reports, particularly detail reports in QBO, you've noticed, they open to this month to date. It's kind of the default. Or you have a customized report, which we'll go to. How do you customize? But I like in report tools for at least the balance sheet and the P&L, which are your main monthly reports anyway. I can choose, this year to date, and I can do, or in this case, we're tax season. Let's look at last year. And then I can do like cash basis. Say we're doing some tax reports or something like that. This sets the default for those, right? So now I can go back to the briefcase and go to accountant reports, which most of these company financials are going to reside. However, they're also in all reports business review too, as you probably already know. So if I go to reports, just to go over the main buckets, you got business overview, which is akin to company financial report bucket in desktop. You're going to have most of your P&L, balance sheet, statement of cash flow is going to be in here. AR and AP, pretty obvious. Payroll, products and items-based reporting, sales, expense, sales tax. Now, detail reports you can customize way more than summary reports. Similar, and that's the same story with desktop, though. However, you have an accountant reports, and this is where the general ledger, the trial balance, another P&L and balance sheet, and some comparison reports are. Right? We even give you 2 accountant-only report. The other, you're basically restricted to the reports based on the level of QBO your client has. So Plus has like 100 reports. Essentials has 60-ish. Simple Start 24, something like that. I don't know. But we do give you, though your clients have the same reports as you will, because really you're just a company admin like they are, other than the accountant toolbox and stuff, and the ability to undo a bank rec. There's a couple reports, the adjusted trial balance, which you're probably never going to use, but the adjusting journal entry you might, right? So those are accountants only. But I like my first example to do a P&L, and we're going to do last year, right? So the P&L and balance sheet will default to the report period from, report tools, set the default, really up to you. Or maybe you have a customized report, but I'm just saying if you're just new to it, okay? Now, navigating. I want to look at, last year and maybe percent change with a year to date. Similar columns to desktop. I'm going to run this report, okay? Gives me the report I want. Right. Now, let's say I see something on it, though, like inventory shrinkage, negative $3. Maybe if you're just doing tax stuff, maybe you just wouldn't worry about this one, but I don't know. It looks rather annoying. So I'm going to drill into it, but I don't, or this unapplied cash payment income. What's that? So that's like an account. We put stuff in if they entered a payment and didn't apply it to the invoice, and the payment's in the future, or the invoice in the future. Forget the scenario. I should know this, but my mind and everything, et cetera. Oh, my gosh. Anyway, you might see stuff that's just red flags to you. But I don't want to lose the customization I've done, right? Whether you've gone over here and you've filtered by a particular account, a distribution account or a customer or something, right? You don't want to redo that when you go back to the summary report. So don't drill down yet. Before you drill down on that unapplied cash payment income or that inventory shrinkage for negative $3, right-click on the tab you're on, duplicate. This gives me the same report in another tab, okay? And it has an auto-refresh, too. You can do this with transactions. So now I could drill down on the unapplied cash payment income and just to see what that's from. Yeah, so journal entry, boom. Got it. So I can drill down further. And then I might right-click duplicate again before I drill on the journal entry. This is your open windows. It's so you don't have to get frustrated by clicking the back button and losing your spot in the summary report. So I have summary report here, detail. I can even take this and put it on another monitor. Right? So that stuff I think is helpful if you're a Power Desktop user, right? Yeah, Lindsay, there is an app. That's a good call. She asked about the QBO app, which you can download. By the way, I'm going to put this link in the chat area, right? So you have this free resource which has links for training, for clients, for you, whatever. But there's also a link to the QBO app for Windows, although you can get it at apps.com too. This works on the Mac and a PC, assuming most of you are using a PC, but I have friends use it on the Mac because they can stay signed in, number one, which is nice, and Windows open in their own window, right? And so your system tray is kind of like your open window list. And I think they're working on the auto refresh. I don't believe it's in there yet. That's to come. Where I mean, when I enter a check, will the other window pick it up? That kind of thing. Like desktop has that as that first pop-up you get first time, and it's a set preference forever, you know. I enter a journal entry. Any report I have open in other windows reflects that journal entry change, assuming that accounts reflect that report or on that report. You know the story. So now that works in Chrome, and when you're in through QBOA, there is an auto refresh now automatically, which is awesome. So you don't have to like force or reload the page like you used to. So, because that was the tab browse drawback. I mean, tab browsing, where I have these two tabs open and I can do it with transactions, you know, right click, open a new tab. This is my open windows. But the problem is if I had this journal entry that I just created, you know, and by the way, you can do multiple ARAP in these, and let's say it's an adjusting journal entry, right? There's that adjusting journal entry report I told you about, so you can kind of a fail-safe for your work versus other people doing journal entries in the file. Hopefully your client's not doing too many of those, as you agree. Anyway, like this journal entry is going to impact both the balance sheet and the P&L. I might have open in other tabs, but those other tabs would never know it. So I'd have to reload the page. Now it does auto-refresh, which makes this way better for desktop users that are used to open window and they want to do this tab browsing. But they send the report to their client. The client says it looks like last month. You're like, oh, I forgot to reload the page when I was doing transaction entry in another tab. Now you don't have to worry about that. Right? So as long as you're in through QBOA. Anyway, yeah, the app does that too. I don't know if their auto refresh is going, but here's where you can download it. If you want more of drop-down menus, that's the other thing the app provides, then this is for you. You just download it. It's free. Even your client can use it. And I like the stay signed in thing, but I prefer Chrome and Firefox. I don't use the app myself. I've been using it since '09, so you get used to what you used to, right? So anyway, but you're all doing way more in desktop than I am in daily. So for you, this is a radical departure, even if you're somewhat used to QBO, right? So the app can be really helpful. There's a reason for it, you know. And then I knew the guy who's no longer with the company who created it, and it was an awesome idea. And Stacy and I were just so excited about it when he showed us the mock-ups, so like 3 or 4 years ago. Anyway, so we created the app really for accountants, right? Or you have a client that's like on 2012 Pro and they're moving to Essentials or something for whatever reason. You know, that their kid's kind of taking over and he does everything on the phone. I mean, you name it. You have more reasons than I do. These people moving to QBO. But anyway, he can download, or his dad or mom can download the app, and kind of more akin to desktop, though it's still QBO. But so I have these, you know, multiple windows, right? And that's the trick. Right-click, duplicate. Firefox does it too. Like if I'm in with Ray or my client and they go into the same file, there's a reason I had her in the same file. I almost forgot, but I'm going to show you the firm visibility in a bit because that's important too. So like she can go to look at a report, or maybe she just wants to go do some bank feeds, right? And she's going to work on the Visa, which we're going to go through in a sec, but she wants the register open too, right? You right-click, duplicate. It's going to bring me to the bank feed window, and then I can go to accounting once it loads, and then I can go to my, you know, Visa account and view the register. So put that in another monitor, right? So I really like that tab browsing as an approach, or like Lindsay suggests, download the app. I showed you where it is. And those are the ways to get a more open window type experience. It's still not a true open window list like we're used to, but it's close, right? Particularly with the auto refresh now. Okay. So other things I wanted to show, I have this customization with reporting. I can save it because I want to get to the bank feed. And let's say I'll just date it today. This is going to be 01/09/18. You can add them to a group. Some of you are used to memorized reports, right? So these would be the monthly reports. I'm adding it to that group. Because you can auto-send reports from QBO to people that don't have access to QBO. And notice you can share it with all, which for financial summary reports, company financial, are going to be the all user, company admin, or master admin. So all these people would see it in the My Custom Reports tab, which I'll show you quickly. That's your quote-unquote memorized report list. But I could do firm only too. So only Ray, Leah, Valerie, you know, the people in the firm can see the report. Even though the client's in the file, they can't even see the report. I come out customized for them. You might have some reports that are important for that, like some of the bank rec summary reports or whatever. Sometimes that's helpful. So I'm going to do all, and I'm going to click Save. And then, you know, in reports, I have my custom reports. So pretty easy, pretty quick to then go ahead and open up a particular report or what have you. So this is my memorized report list, and I've shared it with people and tells me who created it, as well as you can take the group, like this D4 group I created for people who don't access QBO, but they make big decisions or help anyway for this particular client. I can edit the group to be scheduled so that, monthly they get these 3 or 4 reports. And they're not encrypted. It's just like an attachment, PDF, or I could choose to send it as Excel. Auto-sending reports. Desktop got that like 2 years ago. QBO's had it since 2009, or probably before. I mean, that's just when I've been paying attention. So you can auto-send reports. You can also auto-send transactions, which I probably won't get to, but the recurring transactions, right? Think memorized transactions like you do. For invoices and sales receipts, you can auto-send them too, right? So a little more auto-send type functionality within QBO as well, or automation, which we'll get into bank feeds next. But that's really the reporting piece. I did want to mention that you have your memorized reports, my custom reports, you have your accountant-specific reports, but the detail-oriented reports. Oh, I think the example I like is the transaction. Yeah, so do a search, detail by account, because you use that in desktop too, right? So I have these reports. You can customize detail reports way more, so I could do this month to date. I can group by all the particular columns that I have. Let's say I do a lot of class tracking or location tracking or something like that, or by customer or transaction type. I'll leave it by account, and you can change the columns and their order. Maybe I don't want memo and description. Maybe I don't need class or location. And amount and balance, I don't want that. Instead, I want what? Debit credit, because it's not a default. But I can run the report and then save the customization, And you can even add columns on detail reports by clicking the baby gear. This is on many different lists, sales list, customer, vendors, reports, detail reports particularly. You have this little baby gear icon. Versus the main one, right? We know what that's for, operational stuff, settings, etc. But the baby gear on lists and reports, I can also check columns on and off here. So you can do a lot with the detail reports as far as customization, but remember when you're done customizing, save it. You get a quick drink of water. That way you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You're basically memorizing the report, right? And then if you need to go to Excel, it's here, right? Print, email, etc. But summary reports, they just don't have this, the same kind of stuff, a customization ability. But that's true of desktop as well, right? I have a balance sheet, and I can customize. I can't do much with rows and columns, though. It's just a period comparison, and inactive versus inactive numbers or whatever, or I should say accounts. And then I can filter by what's available. I wish the trial balance, though, you can filter by class, which you can. I mean, there's that kind of stuff, that we're working on. More parity with desktop reporting on that stuff. Header, footer, customization, things like that. And, of course, you can create your own report packages. I won't go into that, but there's a management reports. We give you a couple templates you can build from. You can put a bunch of reports together with a table of contents and a cover letter, and your pre and post notes, and that can go to PDF or Word doc, and you can send that to your client. Right. So there's that too. Check that out, and that's also under the briefcase. Now, before bank feeds, there's one tool I really want to show. Sure, voided, deleted transactions, that'll show, what's been voided, deleted. But the reclassify transactions, batch classify, nearly the same tool that when you're using QuickBooks Account Edition to access your Pro Premier client files or Enterprise Accountant to work with your enterprise clients. The difference is you can't batch classify from the source account. This is really the target accounts. But I can look at this year in this file and look at travel meals and all the transactions, and some stuff is not travel meal. This is actually travel where I park my car at the airport. So you can check all these off, and I can reclassify them in a batch to the appropriate account, just travel in general, reclassify. Or they'll do stuff uncategorized, or sometimes they'll do the bank feed and it'll become uncategorized, right? It'll just go to that and they're not really sure what to do because they're doing the feed, they're adding to the register. You can use this to batch classify. They don't have the ability. But the other thing I like about it is to bird's eye what transaction types are in which account, like unapplied cash payment income, I have a bill payment and journal entry. So it's good to know those transactions. I can double click and drill down from there. Or you can go over to the balance sheet accounts here. You can still run your reports, etc. But in prepaids, I can make sure it's only journal entries. I can go into a fixed asset account and make sure it's only journal entries or something like that, or see what's in uncategorized asset and why it's a transfer. So, there's reporting, and then there's like this 30,000-foot view of going to batch or classify, which is a tool under the briefcase, and it's meant for what it's designed, reclassify miscoded transactions in a batch to the appropriate account. However, you can also use it to bird's eye quickly some things within an account for the year, the month, or whatever. So I have a lot of friends who do that monthly. They do this monthly kind of cleanup file health gig, right? And they dive in and they make sure stuff's in bank feeds is now from the forward view tab into the register, which we're about to look at. But they'll also go through some of the key problematic accounts for their clients, and you probably have those too. In your head, you can list off which accounts are undeposited funds, things like that, just to see what's in there or make sure that they're doing the right transaction type in the account. And this is the fastest way for me to see it, okay? Rather than doing a quick report on the account itself. Let's see here. Can you get the general ledger to print the balances as negative for liabilities and income? Like, no, not at this time. All right, but that's awesome feedback. Again, do the gear icon feedback. We're sending a lot of stuff up for reporting. But now you could do the debit credit though. Maybe that's the thing. If we go over there and look at the GL, and you're probably running this report way more than me. But if I go to the columns, I can do debit credit and get rid of amount balance. And I'll just forget the split for now. Let's see if that would do any better. Oh, you're saying when you want to print it though, you want to show it as negative balances. Print the balances, right? So if I do debit credit, let's see what it looks like. I just don't think, yeah. But at least if it's an expense and it, right? Okay, so it's a debited, so that would be a negative. Anyway, so that's one way to do it. The other thing I would love to have, and this is just my pet peeves, is have the general ledger run by default collapsed, so I don't have to go through and do this, right? Like that expand collapse thing, It's only on a few reports. Anyway, yeah, reporting, just keep sending the feedback up. We're investing in the reporting to make it on par, and it's that stuff. It's not that it's missing reports. It's that kind of stuff that you're so used to with desktop that my hope is that we address to it for sure. So thanks for that, Mark, anyway. Okay, let's see. Bank feeds, key. Actually, let me go and see how I'm doing. I think I had 65 transactions open in this one. That were in the for review tab. So I'm going to click on banking and 15 in checking, recognized. Let me go over to 13. Yeah, so we could use this. This is fine. I have a lot of stuff uncategorized and things like this. So this is what you want to do, and we might want to look at quickly just a couple slides, and then I'll go through some best practices around bank feeds, because this is the last thing we'll look at, and this is the best thing. Let's see, Deborah, are you working on items showing items as cleared on the P&L side related to the reconciliations? Not at the item level. Items linked to accounts, though, yes. That should already be there. So, all right. Bank feeds, real important. Putting in the URL is a way to get it, or choose one of the most popular ones. And then you want to do a direct connection, because once it's connected, every day you should see what cleared yesterday. It's a great way to get the data in. However, sometimes you have to upload manually, and that's true. And mostly the bank owner's doing this, and they're choosing the actual account, that it's in QBO they want to connect to. I've seen anything from, credit card, obviously checking in the most common savings account, things like that, just pulling in the transactions. I've even seen like some investment account connection at a particular bank, but I'm not sure which account you would use for distribution, maybe equity account or something like that. So still possible. And then, though we're not set up for stock transactions, as you know, right? Just like in desktop, and QBO doesn't really track that well, or really have that, where Quicken or Mint, way better. So default, we do import 90 days of transactions upon the first connection. However, you can choose 7 or 30. Like if you only need 20 or 10, you choose 30 and just delete the rest. You can exclude them. I'll show you where to go do that. And you can get longer period of time. Just get a file from the bank, and it's either a CSV file, .qbo or OFX. I've used all three of those, and they all work really well. The QFX I've never really run into. You might, but that's just when you're uploading manually into the banking and credit card window. So that is possible when you're first starting and you need more data than 90 days, or if you just have a problematic connection with a particular bank or a client, you might just do it monthly or something. Sometimes they'll just give you a statement. All right. So Deborah, I'll get to that at the end. Assuming I can answer it. It looks maybe a little above my pay grade for me, but let me go through the bank feed stuff, and then I'll try it out. So we're going to go through this stuff within QuickBooks Online. Again, I'm connected to the Visa. That's what I'm pulling down. I have 3 tabs within the bank card. For review, in QuickBooks, excluded. Just a great way to get the data in, including we'll talk about rules as well. So within the For Review tab, these are the unaccepted transactions. This is the stuff that has not yet been added to the register. In QuickBooks, obviously, that's stuff that's been added to the register. You can actually pull it out in a batch and undo it, and then exclude is where you delete stuff. Like for some reason the 7-Eleven wasn't a business expense, shouldn't be in here, I can exclude it. And it'll put it over to excluded where I can go and then grab it and delete it out. This is for stuff that are duplicates. If for some reason we don't pick up the match. Because really, when you're talking about accepting transactions in or unaccepted in the For Review tab, there's 2 actions, add or match, right? And I think I actually have a better file for this. Let me go over to CloudClap because I have the match and what it says now, and that's changed recently as well. So you might as well be up to date on that. So you're either adding or matching. Matching is there because why? So we don't duplicate to the register, right? Rules are there so to better accurately categorize stuff, and particularly when there's complexity, where I'll show you my Amazon example in a second. But I have a bunch of, Adobe systems, Amazon, Hamby Cable, 7-Eleven. Yes, QBO, once you actually work a transaction in the feed, when you add it, it will remember that Bake Accounting always goes to outside accountants. When I click add, it'll remember that for next time. It'll do its own kind of rule, etc. However, the best accuracy is to create a rule for almost everything you can. Like I have Amazon. I have 2 rules for Amazon because there's an over-under by amount, and when I want it to go to a fixed asset as opposed to COGS or expense based on amount, again. And I want to leave some stuff uncategorized just because. So this guy purchased a lot from Amazon. So I can go to bank rules, and we'll look at both Amazon rules. This one, then I have the big Amazon. And you can stack rank. You can move these around for Amazon, because for some of these vendors, you might have many rules just because the particular purchase by amount or language or bank detail or whatever should go to this account versus another, or have this class instead of that one, etc. So we'll look at Amazon, just the normal one. You create rules. Remember, QBO will do it too based on how you work the transaction in the feed, but once you see stuff that's predictable, I would create a rule for it. So in Amazon, when it meets all of the following criteria, some rules you want to have any, so it'll pick up anything. But if you want to be more exclusive, so it's like, hey, if it doesn't contain these 2 things, then I don't want this rule to be applied. That's when you use all. When the bank text contains Amazon and the amount is less than 50, it's going to go to supplies and this particular class. I can even have it automatically added to the register. So there's more automation of data entry as well within QBO with this checkbox. It's not on by default, which is a good thing. But if you don't need to review something, check the box. Have it automatic. Once the rule's applied, it'll put it in the register for you. So a great way to automate that and maybe prevent your clients from messing with it too, because it's already in the register. Okay, best practice there, share. Now also, we have the Amazon Big, right? Now this one has a little more criteria. Again, when a transaction meets all of the following conditions, I want this to happen, right? So again, any, all versus any is going to be not good in this situation because anything that says AMAS or Amazon, it'll do what I want it to do, put it in the R&D other current asset account, which I don't want. So I just want this to be anything that has Amazon or AMAS. Usually the bank text has you've seen, has like the first 4 or 5 letters of the company, a bunch of numbers and gibberish, and the description is usually the payee, right? And then the amount is greater than or equals or less than or whatever. It's going to then be the same payee, but go to this particular account as opposed to per IRS standards or whatever. You know that better than me. I think over $500, I think, for that line item goes to other current asset or something like that versus vendor purchases or whatever instead of COGS. So I have those two, and that's why. And notice anything between 50 and 500, though, I'm leaving uncategorized for whatever reason. I could create another rule for that if I want to. So that's why we're receiving these go into supplies, but big purchase, right? $505, 39 cents go into R&D. The nice thing about this is when it turns green, whether a rule's applied or there's a match involved, or QBO remembers from last time. Circle K is probably gas and oil. Maybe I should start creating a rule for some of these. You know, the nice thing is I can grab them all and batch accept, whether they're an add or a match. So we want to turn it green. You'll notice over in the checking account some other things. When there's a match, it'll say 1 or 2 or however many similar records are found. Like that's the new language. So you'll see add and a match. Right? Still green. We found a similar expense. It probably came in from the phone app for McDonald's that I can also add in a batch. But it's a match because I don't want to duplicate it. It's already in the register. Right? The client used the phone app they have. They took a picture with an expense attached, and it's already in there. The feed came in 2 or 3 days later because they used a debit card. Maybe it was even a day later. I don't want to duplicate it. Other best practices around income, particularly, I must have already added it. No, I think I still have it out here. It's like $2,000 or something. Yeah. You know, uncategorized, you'll see it a lot, or maybe some other current assets, or it's a transfer. You can click Find Match. If your client is not putting stuff in undeposited funds to match the lump sum deposit, it's harder, right? And you go through this list, and I can filter for on invoices or receive payments and try to check off the 2 that match 2,000. It's way better if this is upstream in the received payment window or on the sales receipt, although typically I find it with received payments is they're hitting undeposited funds. It's not a default preference like desktop, right? So if you're seeing a lot of singular payments deposited and it's really hard to match the lump sum deposit coming in from the checking account feed, you know, with what should have been a group deposit from received payment, it's probably because they're hitting the checking account here. Right. So look at that. Change it to undeposited funds. It's sticky. They probably won't remember. They can change it, of course, if they have that accessibility. This is another thing I wish we had locked in the preferences, lock in undeposited funds. It makes the revenue bank feed a lot easier to reconcile with itself with lump sum deposits. So use rules more. I don't think you can really overrule, but bad rules can be created. And certainly only use that add to the books checkbox if it doesn't need to be reviewed. Right? But it's a great way to get the data in, and the more you work it, the more green you'll see. So the more stuff we'll recognize, and you can add or accept, I should say accept in batch, and then just work on the stuff that's uncategorized for whatever reason. You know. So purchasing should work pretty well. I know with revenue, again, that undeposited funds thing and a few other things. Checks are tough because the bank doesn't send down the payee. So use HubDoc or get an image or something, or have most of my friends have a statement open in the other tab, right, just to align the check with that. Okay. So bank fees, getting the data in, recurring transactions another way. And let me now, I'm going to go back to the deck just to make sure that here you guys have the upcoming webinars, and then I'll leave my screen shared out. Remember, download the handout. We're pretty much done, but I want to look at Deborah's questions, see if I can weigh in at all, but I'll stop the recording at this time.